Hello, everybody. We are here again with another replay commentary. It's me, JackMade from NWE, and I'm here with
Lostgeek, also from NWE, obviously.
And we are looking now at a game from Fite Club Round 2, and it's a game of yours, actually, right? So
yeah, it is actually round 3. We did have a bye in the first round, so it's technically our round 2, but it is round 3 of Fite Club.
Did I say round 2? I meant round 3.
Yes. I this time around I brought Sable and was matched, funnily enough, against another Restoring Humanity. So we'll viewers of the last video can now match and compare how Sable versus RH looks like compared to Hoshigo versus RH.
And we learned from our in quotation marks mistakes. So we have the deck lists now ready, so we can look at the deck list now. Maybe we can just discuss really quickly what are the most important choices in both of the deck lists that we see in front of us here.
Exactly.
Maybe
one thing I want to note, and one thing that you will probably very much dislike, is that I actually cut a diversion of funds for a Debbie, which was, I would say, a fun include. I'm fully aware that this might not be fully optimal, but I thought that in some situations I actually liked the Debbie more than diversion of funds, and we can actually see how this game turned out.
Yeah, I'm all about consistency, so I'm personally am the fan of the three of. So yeah, I can see that I don't like it. I think the Fite Club meta game is very interesting, so that you can actually you can make an argument for not including a card like Diversion of Funds, for sure. If you expect a lot of corp decks where the Diversion of Funds is not that strong, but I think having the option of a card to be that impactful as Diversion of Funds is.
Yes.
I personally like to have it as an option in my back pocket in my.
To be honest, when I imported the deck list and saw that I actually went through with the idea of 2 Diversion of Funds, I was kind of mad at myself because I thought that I had changed it last second. But I still think 2 Diversion of Funds can be correct. And as we looked at through decks that our opponents played before, and also because we saw a Restoring Humanity, 3 Diversion of Funds might actually be tricky depending on whether you find your Sentry Breaker early or not in this game. So I actually, in this matchup, I like the 2 Diversion of Funds. Also notable, not included card is Bankroll, which was something that this deck would have played, but I knew that Restoring Humanity was on the table, and against RH you want to run as little as possible. So instead we are playing the full 3 daily casts, no Dirty Laundry, which is also such a card that can lead you into demise pretty quickly. Yeah. So
also interesting that you decide not to play a Hanukkah, which I think is most of the time not the correct choice. I personally really enjoy playing Hanukkah in Sable. And I'm always looking at what are my card draw options in Sable, because I usually like to have around 6 card draw options. And if you expect a matchup where you don't want to run much, I think Nuka is very, very much on the top. I also started liking Verbal Plasticity in Sable.
Yes.
Because it's so nice with Glass Act, and it's a permanent solution that you can have for card draw, and you click for draw on the first click so much in Sable that I really, really come to enjoy it a lot.
Yeah. There will be a lot of clicking for cards here, so yeah, Verbal Plasticity might have gone into his deck. I instead played the Hotel, which is I think also fine. I agree on Nuka, but I wanted to play 2 Twinnings just to be safe from random damage. Also because I was in my Arte, I was playing Zadaka, so the typical kind of taking against your own deck. If somebody shoots my Twinning, I have a second one. I think the final point to discuss is the Icebreaker suit. I decided to go with 1 of each plus 1 Amakua and 2 mutual favors. We've discussed a bit before this episode, before we started recording, and I kind of agree that 2 of each breaker and then going with Shibboleth instead of Unity is, I think, my preferred choice. But I think there is something going for both decks, and I think also the Amakua was a choice based on the decks that our opponents had played in previous rounds. So both are viable options.
I mean, if I look at the deck list, my thought first would have been maybe I cut the Unity, cut the Mystic Miami, cut the 2 Buyer Bands, and get in 3 Nukas and see what I do with the slot that I gain from that. But
and the slot that you gave from Debbie if you cut 2 more run events. But yes.
Yeah, but I mean, run events. If you expect matchups where you don't want to run that much,
yes,
are also a little bit dicey. So
yes, for sure. And on the opponent side, we see this time a Restoring Humanity with 1 Adrian Says and 2 Energetic Void. I think the last time, at least from your memory, it was just the 2 Voids. Yeah. And also a single snare to play around, because a snare is always fun.
But very standard besides that, I think.
Exactly.
Like the eye suit is pretty much set. It's very interesting for me that there's so much Atini, but it makes sense in a Bankar meta game. But besides that, I mean, the other thing that's also interesting to me is that they're only playing 2 hedge funds and not 3. Yeah. But
I guess that is where the Adrian Says came from. I'm also looking at Tuta Tobola and kind of feel like I want the 3rd, but I'm not sure. But I really like the list. Like, I think this is a very, very solid list.
Nothing to play around. Like, not really. The only really thing that you have to be aware of, that if you see an upgrade, it might be Adrian Says and not always has to be Anotic Void.
Exactly. So, I would say let's switch over to the replay. Oh, I've not done the magic yet. Let me do the magic of clicking
magic
here and doing the
programming magic.
Display none. I mean, good enough programming is undifferentiable from magic. So this time around, I obviously have seen the game because I've been playing it, and you haven't seen it yet, so you're going into this blind. This was actually also streamed by the QTM people, so shout out to them, and you can actually maybe we can include the link to the stream somewhere in the description. In the description. Yes, we are becoming YouTubers now, and so I would say I will just go through the clicks. If I'm going too quickly, just tell me, and I'll go back. And so I would say let's start.
Before we start, I think I would like to talk about the starting hands. I think on the corp side, we don't have to talk much.
Exactly.
Because basically we want to focus on the runner side here again.
Exactly.
And I think your starting hand is totally fine. You have a card where you can draw with buyer bands. Nothing to install with, which is a little bit sad. So
yes,
you could maybe see drawing first before playing the buyer bands, but you have a lot of money with 2 Sure Gambles and a Bravado. So I like the starting hand.
Same. I after a bit of chit chat, I definitely kept this hand. I was pretty happy seeing the cards that I saw. Also, Pinhole can be relevant in some points in the game, so also having access to that is really good. So let's quickly go to the corp turn, which is just installing some ice and doing not a hedge fund, but just a credit.
Yeah, it's kind of a sign of a weak start for me, because they don't have a money operation.
But they have kept, so they must have liked something about the hand, which might be something like your Digital Life plus Bacterial plus something. So definitely still something to be aware of, because this deck can be pretty devious in that sense.
Also, one thing that I realized playing against these kinds of Jinteki decks, back in the day it was Agen Fusion with Vientiane Keeling. That Sai Santan is a very, very painful face check for Sable, so you have to keep that in mind. So I wouldn't want to Bravado if I don't have to, for example.
I think we will go into things. So as we said, first click draw makes sense.
It's a little bit sad that we don't find it installable yet, but
exactly.
We might just want to blindly go and draw cards with buyer bands.
Interesting, because I know I didn't. I drew a second time. But I guess
it's also fine. It's also fine. I mean, the reason to go for the buyer bands now, I think, is because you really want to get your draw in this turn. But I think drawing again is also fine, because you can go draw, Sure Gamble, buyer bands, Sure Gamble, for example, because you get the click because you rolled your mark like a champion.
Yes.
That's perfect. I think that's the card you want to install anyway.
Yeah, looking back at it, I fully agree. At the time, I was thinking the Classic is a tool that I want to keep in hand as much as I can, because of course, like if you do a big steal, you can just install before or afterwards. Just install the Classic, then draw up to unkillable numbers of cards in hand. So
I think that goes for the second. I think it goes for the second Classic, not the first one.
I have also learned that now.
Yeah.
just by the way the game played out. So I fully agree that gamble, buy a bands, install the classic, gamble in other times would be the way to go. I actually just played 2 gambles here, which, looking back at it, hurts a lot. But yeah.
You really want to find your breakers and be able to contest stuff even when it's iced.
It is much more important than the tricky ways of dealing with punitive, because I'm still having 2 sure gambles here, which is a good way of dealing with punitive for now. So it is not that important yet.
And you're up in the money game already, which is
exactly.
And now we see why buyer bans in first turn could have been very good, because now you have to make a very difficult decision if you want to play buyer bans.
Exactly that.
With all servers iced.
And at the corp at 10 credits, which means that any one of the big eyes, which pretty much is all the eyes in this deck, besides 2 Tatabolas, is problematic.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, we're rolling Mark on R&D. I think we can just agree that drawing with your first click is something that is the correct choice in many turns. So it is.
I think I would have considered installing Class Act here and then drawing, but
that is an option, yes. But
because
again,
you lose if you draw, you lose the Class Act trigger. But I mean, if you're still in the mindset of
exactly,
I want to keep the Class Act, then it totally makes sense to just draw.
Exactly. This classic will not get installed, I can tell you as much. So once again, we draw 2 times. And interesting
it's an awkward situation because you can't really play 2 cards.
Yes. So I don't even actually fully remember what I did. I think this might even be a weird turn. Okay. We install Daily Cast for sure.
Makes sense. That's the one card that's easy to install here.
Exactly. And then we should probably still install the Class Act. I think I took a credit actually. And discarded the Bahia bands because I couldn't use it now. Also, this was a point where I was considering what else I might discard, but I think I'm pretty happy with the choice in the end. Like if I see the classic as a tool that I want to keep, then I'm still happy with this play.
I think it's very interesting how your choice of not installing the classic already impacted a lot of what you could do in this thing. And it makes a lot of choices very awkward.
Yes, I didn't see it coming how awkward things would get, and so I think this is a completely different game if I just do the turn that you described in turn 1.
Yeah.
Anyhow, the corp draws a bunch more. Money's up. Yeah. Discards a card.
Gets his bacterial in archives where it belongs.
Exactly.
Which we can only assume, but
yeah. So once again, first click is always a draw. I draw a boomerang, and I think at this point I tanked for like 3 minutes or something because I was considering whether to use this boomerang now or not. So what would your choice be?
It's very interesting because I think there's a lot of eyes where boomerang isn't the best at breaking. Like most prominently, if you face check into an Anansi, where it's still 1 subroutine firing and you take the 3 net damage. So if you're afraid of Anansi, then boomerang is obviously not the best choice. There's some eyes, especially like a teeny, where you don't mind just paying 2 or taking a net damage, probably paying 2. And there's you could get a lot of like weight off your hand if you can make a run, because you can install the boomerang, use your bravado to get credits, and then use the mutual favor to get the click compression. So I think you have to make a choice if you want to make a gamble on hopefully not hitting the Yananzi. And I think if you do that, you use it on your mark. That's basically the random roll, and you don't want to run archive. So I would, if you do that, I would boomerang HQ, bravado boomerang on the Ison HQ, bravado HQ, and then afterwards, if all goes well, mutual favor for probably the Carmen to have the Sentry Breaker.
Bravado is interesting. I did not actually go for bravado here. After some thinking, I went into boomerang and actually doofed here.
Yeah, that's also absolutely fine for sure. Yeah. I also like this for sure.
Because I felt like the bravado can be used on any server at some later point, or just be a hit point, whereas the diversion of funds is actually something that converting it into credits now is pretty much worth it.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we ran into Tatabola.
I think that's still totally fine. It's much better outcome than hitting an Anansi.
For sure.
If it's an Anansi, at least you make them poor, but you lose a lot of cards in your hand.
Yeah. Also, now looking back at it, I don't know why I didn't use the mutual favor here. I actually just drew. Using the mutual favor makes a ton of sense. It was not something that
you don't get a lot of draws.
I think what was going into my mind was that I don't know what I need yet. So
I think the Sentry Breaker is what makes your life so much easier.
Getting a common here would make it much easier. It's still Vaporonessa and Artini are still bad face checks, but
yeah, for sure. But it diminishes the amount of bad face checks by a lot.
Yeah, that is true. So the corp draws and installs something.
So now we are in the same old. Is this a Regenesis situation? And do you want to contest it?
Once again, first click is always a draw. And then I thought about what I do. Is there anything that comes to your mind? Like, what would you do here?
I'm still really boggled by your decision not to install the classic, because it would have smoothed out so much. Because now with this classic in hand, you really don't want to take damage, and not being able to take damage basically rules out installing Wake, and it rules out making a run. So
does it now? Let's see the next click.
Let's see how that worked out, keeping that in hand for that dreaded turn. Yeah, it turned out not quite working that way.
I told you it wouldn't get installed. Yeah, I had already learned my lesson during the game, but like looking back at it now, it makes so much more sense to install on turn 1 and have a so much more smooth game. Yeah. So drew once more. Actually, I didn't. I thought it was only chat messages coming here. Drawing into another Bravado. And I pretty much
Lastly, it's still again a little bit awkward. You could play the mutual favor to offload the click. I think that's fine. Could also draw again and then decide what you want to get rid of. Omaku is probably not the best in the matchup. There's only one ice that you can break, kinda okayish with Tatubola.
Yeah.
So I think drawing again could be good.
I think I just took a credit and once again delayed the decision on mutual favor until I know better what I might be facing. And also I gambled here that this is Rashida. Like it is so much more it is not much more likely, but much easier for the corp to have a Rashida or a Spin Doctor here, so that I felt like if this Regenesis, I will just hand them the 4 points. They would have needed to find the agenda, put it in archives by overdrawing in this case, and find Regenesis. So I felt like this was a gamble I was willing to take at this point.
Interesting thought. If you let's pause again for a quick moment. If you had played the mutual favor for Carmen last turn, would you have considered bravadoing into the remote? Because I would definitely consider that.
I think I'm fully with you there. Like the worst thing that can happen is
thinking back. I think it's very, very obvious that you want to have a breaker installed instead of the mutual favor in hand, even if it's not like the correct breaker for every situation, but just having like a little bit of more ice being less scary is just so good for your running economy.
Just turning off like half of the scary ice of the corp is very important. So I fully agree there. So corp actually draws.
So we can assume that this is not the Rushida, nor is it the Regenesis, or if it's the Regenesis, they might not have the agenda in archive, which we know they had, but so we might come to the conclusion that either this is the Regenesis that didn't have the agenda, or this is maybe an upgrade.
Correct. Also, it can't be a Spin Doctor really, because he drew mandatorily. He drew with a
manually
action, so manually. So it is unlikely to be a Spin Doctor. I think a Spin Doctor would just get rezzed here,
unless he values the bluff a little bit more. Because, as I said, if it's the Regenesis, the delayed Regenesis plate that he can do now with Hansei, then maybe that's an option. But yeah, it doesn't have to be like that.
And we actually now see here the fully upgrade remote.
Ready for any regenesis to come.
Exactly. And yeah, here I start my turn. Once again with a draw, because why not? The mark actually points on archives here, so very dangerous one to take at this point.
Yeah, for sure I would ignore this mark.
Yes.
Archive at this point is for me like, nah, I'm not doing that, even if it's a click.
Exactly. Drawing into Miss Bones doesn't really help. That is for other matchups, not really for this one.
Yeah, that's a hit point or a discard.
Exactly. I think I was thinking on whether I want to draw again or not. Like whether I want to draw, then install and then run, or Bravado right now or something like that. I don't fully remember what I did, but I know I thought for a long while. I actually came to an interesting conclusion here. I'm still not fully sure whether it was right, but it worked out in the game. Because I knew the corp has relatively few eyes, and I saw Tatabola getting put back into hand and then an ice getting installed in remote very early on. I was pretty certain that this was a Tatabola on the remote.
Yeah.
So I did actually go for the Kurapira, installed it, and ran.
I think this play is ballsy, for sure. First of all, this is your least important breaker, because it's not preventing any face checks. Second of all, if you miscalculate, and that you could very well be miscalculating here, then this run could be like you lose half your hand and take lots of and not get any big value out of this. But as you already said, probably you're fine here, and checking the upgrades on an off turn is obviously it's great.
Yeah, that was the idea. Like I was expecting at least one upgrade here. I'm holding the pinhole in hand. If I'm still holding it in hand after this run, which once again is not a given, I have maybe Res the Void or something. I'm fully expecting this to be Regenesis and getting the corp 4 points, and so I'm expecting to getting voided out here. It turned out to be Tatabola. Yeah.
I think I would have bravadoed, by the way, here. I don't think there's much of a danger in going down to 4 cards.
I think I was calculating what I do after getting hit by 3-ish net damage. And I came to the conclusion that I want to keep my hit points in hand and be able to steal something to force them to actually void now.
Okay.
Might be wrong, but it was what I was thinking at this point. But I do agree that I want to get these. I want to turn the bravados into value, and I should probably just do that and just check out if I hit damage here.
Yeah, good, exactly. And then that's the best case scenario for bravado, where you can even if you have to check out, it's still gonna give you some value.
So the corp swaps Tatabola, res Adrian says, and we play a mind side game here. I am still not happy with what I decided, because I decided to just roll a die and take the result. It said 2 credits, so I paid 2 credits. And then regretted my decision. Because like the best case scenario was that the corp also pays 2 credits, but then I steal something and have 2 less credits to fight off any punitive, so it was not the correct choice.
Well, I also think 0 credits is the obvious choice here on a low value run.
Yes, exactly. I'm most likely just trashing the Adrian says here, so not paying any credits into getting that is fully fine. Yeah. This way I paid 2 additional credits that didn't make any sense. But I felt like randomizing was correct, and then didn't think more about that choice.
I think you randomize only if it's do or die, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
If it's the match point, or if it's about like the crucial point in the game. Yeah. Otherwise, you can consider stuff like economy. You have to consider stuff like economy for sure. Because
despite being on 2-digit credit totals, like 11 credits at this point is still not that much. So I would much rather have 13 here.
Yeah. Or 17 if you would have played Bravado.
Yes, as well. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. Corp actually installed some ice, and installed some more ice. And I really don't like my situation here, because now I'm kind of sure that there is something valuable in server 1, be it Rashida or be it Regenesis.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Once again, first click is a draw, I draw a boomerang.
Oh, it's so tough.
Yes. And I painfully see how I put myself into the situation. It could have been so much different.
I mean, being in this situation, my first gut instinct is I somehow want to make the corp work for that card and the remote, but it might be wrong because there's a lot of eyes that you would really regret face checking.
Yeah.
Once again, your mark is on archive, so it's basically blank.
Yes.
Sadly. I really don't know if maybe you just accept giving them 4 points and try to set up as best as possible. Maybe you go for some kind of boomerang play on R&D, but still I don't see the value in that, especially since you don't have... If you would have installed Hermes, maybe that would have been a difference, because then if you can snipe a point, you can maybe get some bounces in as well. But
I would so much like Hermes here at this point, and I just couldn't draw it. I think I drew again, and I just saw a lot of things that are installable. I actually didn't remember what I exactly did here.
I mean, installing Delicas probably, and then
that
the
makes
second
sense.
is much harder.
I think I just maybe take a credit here and then discard the bones or something. Yeah. Right.
I really see that you're being quite passive here because of your decisions you made earlier.
Yes.
And it's very hard to make a decision that's more aggressive because of the board state.
Exactly.
The board state doesn't really give you much options.
Now I really can't take the options. I
mean, it's dangerous. It's for sure dangerous if you take other options.
I think there are a lot of dangerous options where I just die on the spot. So being careful here is what I need to do.
Yeah.
But this means Corp is on 4 points now.
Yeah.
And scores a Fuji with that.
Not cool. And we're still not really further ahead.
Yes. Nothing has changed. We are still just drawing cards manually without any filtering, without anything. So yeah. I think I draw one. No, I actually installed Boomerang here. Okay, that I didn't remember.
It's interesting. Interesting for which server you go. You go for R&D, even though your mark is on HQ. Very interesting.
I did decide for it because I felt like getting a res on R&D, like R&D is the least valuable server. HQ is getting some sort of filtering going on. Archives is full of agendas typically, but hard to get. So R&D is like the least valuable server at this point. So forcing them to... Yeah.
One thing to consider is R&D is only single eyes, and you have Wake installed, so there is some value in being able to bounce the eyes on R&D when you get a lucky score on HQ, for example, and then being able to run in there without the eyes in front. But I can totally see just trying to put some pressure on here.
Exactly, and I did actually play Bio Bands to go with it.
I think that's fine. We need to see more cards. We are not happy with where we are right now.
Exactly. Yeah. Corp goes for Zaizentan on resource and hits Bravado out of hand.
It's very, very lucky that they go for resource instead of event here. I think event is the obvious choice here. Especially with Sable having so many running events in the deck.
Yeah, but I actually get through. I find a Jeswe and just install it for it will make money at some point. Mm-hmm. And I actually Sniper Genesis off of the top, which is huge at this point.
Very nice find. Yeah, very nice find. Exactly. Not deserved at all, but it's very nice.
Exactly. I will take it.
And I think last click is just an easy draw. Yeah,
exactly.
I hope you don't do the same again and keep that class act in hand, but maybe you will.
The problem is this time around I'm rather poor. Like the classic is actually a lot of money in it. So like I think we'll see. The Corp draws some and installs something. Mm-hmm. And at this point, I'm pretty sure that this is not a Genesis because 2 of them are in the scoring area. So if the Corp really finds the third one and an agenda to go with it in archives, it is their game. It's fine. Like this is once again, I think something we didn't say in the beginning of the recording. This is once again we are at 2-2, so this is the deciding match. striking similarity to the first recording.
Yeah.
But I still felt, yeah. But I still felt at this point, like, if all of those stars align, I'm fine giving away this game. Like, I'd much rather just not contest this and have chances later, and just lose the games where they have the Regensis plus agenda lined up.
Especially how you're going to contest this, right? The only chance you can't get in the remote, I think, because we know that this is a void. So the only way to get it is to run archives, and that's just it's just a proposition to die. You could actually, I think one thing that you could consider is just boomeranging the eyes on archives, bravadoing into archives, taking the agendas. They can't give you 6 points, and you also always have the option to just classic backup so that they can't punitive you on any credits.
Yes.
Which I think is very much very very good play in this situation, and it's not easy to come to that conclusion because it's so dangerous to do it early, and it's not dangerous here because you actually got the 1 point. The 1 point matters a lot here.
Yeah, but also for that I would need to assume that there is still points in archives, which I might or might not be thinking here. I was not thinking about that at this point. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think you're correct. Like, looking at the situation here, the correct choice would be to boomerang and maybe wait for a mark on archives, but I don't really have the time to wait for a mark on archives. No. To just go for it, to get bravado value, to turn off the ID. Like, there's a lot of things going for that.
Yeah, being just sure what's happening in archives and stuff like that. It's just very very good value. And if you actually manage to snipe the agenda here, you're in a pretty good spot actually, even though you were quite behind in the beginning.
I do remember the number 10 right now in my mind. So I think the problem with that is if I do bravado and boomerang and also play the class act to make sure that it fires. I'm dying to quite a few things. So I think that was what I was afraid of. Because
what are you dying to?
An Anansi.
You can't install the classic before you run. That's true.
Exactly.
I think I would install.
Give up the second class sets without installing it.
If it's the Anansi, yeah.
Yes,
I think I would do that.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's just a 1 in 3 chance of losing.
Or what you could also do is just not play the bravado and keep it in hand as a hit point, which is also totally fine.
Yeah, that is true. Let's see what I did. I thought a lot, and then I think I drew a card probably. I was going through a lot of lines, and none of them were fun. So yeah, but I now see that
it's very interesting. Yeah. Sometimes you have a hard game because your draw just doesn't line up, and here it's funny on top because you put yourself in this situation.
Exactly, so. It is definitely. Also, it's like one choice that was so important for this game. I choose to draw a card. I draw Debbie here. Let's see what I do.
And Debbie's already active, right?
Exactly, it is threat 4. So I actually
but it's still now it's pretty easy to install the classic, I think. But
exactly, and that is what I do. And I actually also installed Debbie because it's now net credit and maybe some more in the future. And there I draw all my Hermeses and all my Infobound and everything I want. So cards that I was looking for pretty hard. Slightly too late. The Corp looks at the board state, thinks a while, and just goes into advance because why not?
Yeah, the only thing that you're really missing is you're quite low on credits now, and you don't have your breakers. Like, you have only your barrier breaker. And the least important one, sadly.
But you're saying it's the least important one, but I'm sure that I'm getting into servers at least. Like, there is nothing that can stop me.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Besides upgrades.
Exactly. And I was tanking at every single decision point for like 2 or 3 minutes because everything was horrible. And I think at this point I also took like 3 or 4 minutes. But the question is, what do you do here? Like, we are once again finding ourselves in a situation where the Corp is just looking at a win if we do nothing. So, and it's so obvious that it is a win. Once again, there's no NGO in the deck. It must be an agenda, so I know this is something either a Bacterial or a Fuji, and I will lose if I don't do anything.
Yeah, for sure. I think there are two train of thoughts that cross my mind. First, and we know that the 2 cards in the remote are both voids. So
exactly, we are also aware of it because it's Adrian in Archives.
Yeah. So even with Pinhole, it's not easy to get rid of those without them having the ability to trigger, especially since all the service of eyes in front of it. But 12 credits means they probably can't res all the eyes. So exactly. I think one thing that you could go for is try to get into the remote without the breakers, just with your hand size. That's one thing that you can do.
Yep.
But it's probably painful and it's probably not going to work out. So I would rule that out. Second one is install Hermes and try to find an agenda in either Archives or on HQ or on R&D. Yep. And I think I would go for the latter, and I would start with Archives. And then the question becomes, do you want to install Boomerang, or are you just using your hand size? And you also have the mark, so maybe it's even good to just go Hermes, even Info Bounty, and run Archives. But that basically says, I really, really hope that Archives has an agenda. If not, then I have 2 clicks left, I think. So you could then still go for Boomerang on Seisentan, run R&D. I think these are the options that I'm considering.
Yeah. I was actually considering same options, but at this point I was thinking there are likely no agendas in HQ.
Yeah.
R&D is just still pretty full, and we are looking at 1 in server 1. I'm saying no in HQ, so there's 4 agendas left, and they are in 22 cards. So install Hermes, run R&D are not good odds for me. So I felt that if I can find a way of stealing the agenda from server 1, it's actually a much better situation for me.
For sure, but I actually
getting there is really hard.
Yeah, it's super hard. Yeah.
The thing I was thinking was I'm holding 2 pinholes, which are like the perfect solution for this problem. But the problem is I want to run somewhere where I can ensure that pinhole lands, which is not R&D because I'm getting hit for quite a bit, and I still don't have any correct breaker. So I decided it is probably still Archives. I could run HQ, but also there's a mark on Archives.
Yeah. It could also be, funnily, HQ, because it's the least attractive server, probably. I mean, we see that from the hand. It's very, very hard to get that out of your head. Maybe we can, for the next time, just have something. But if you want to spectate one player, just to not see the other side somehow.
Maybe for next time, normally it should. Normally, Corp and Runner View should hide the hidden information, but some bug is somewhere in that system. So maybe until next time, I find time to actually repair whatever is broken here.
And if not,
or find a clutch to make it work. But anyhow, interesting. I thought about HQ, but kind of went with a different line. Thinking about
it's scary. It's scary because you see 2 eyes in front of HQ and you think, it's double the chance.
It is not really 2 eyes. It's just 1 eyes because you can't res 2 of them.
It's just the option. Like they have the option to resing either, and
it will most likely be Nanansi because it is the best option for them, and it will be the one that it should. Let's check actually. Nanansi is. Oh, you're right. There's a Tatabola also involved in here, which I kind of sort of maybe no. I thought it was taken into hand and put onto server 1 at some point. So anyhow, not very attractive options. What I decided to do was install a Boomerang on Archives. We first chat a bit, and I also think a lot. And then I installed the Boomerang on Archives because I felt like if I do a pinhole here, are they really resing this? It is probably a big thing, and if they res a big thing, there are on 4 credits, and they need 3 more to score this, and they need 2 credits to fire a void. So it is actually not really good for them to res this ice.
If it's Seisentan, that's 5 credits, right?
That is true.
I think that's the ice. But, I mean, you see one on the board already.
It is actually in a teeny.
Okay.
So, I was calculating with 7 and 8, to be honest. I should probably have done calculations based on 6 credits or something or 6.5. But anyhow, I felt like they can only res one thing, and then I'm still getting my click back with Sable no matter what happens. I'm still trashing one void no matter what happens.
Yeah.
So maybe then I can, like, if I keep a pinhole in hand, I can pinhole HQ and kill the other one. Yeah. Something like that. So I went for this. They thought a bit and actually let me in.
Yeah.
So one of the voids is gone. So since this worked, let's kill the second one as well.
Yeah,
exactly. Like, after this point, it is obvious what you do. You kill the second void.
Yeah.
They once again let me in because same reasoning. Like, there is a boomerang on there. Why should I res?
No. Also, it makes resing the ice on the remote way harder.
Exactly. I think at that point you calculate with resing whatever is on archives, resing something on server 1, and then being too poor in the rest of the game, and I'm also on game point now, so kinda. There's Virgins still in the game. But, so yeah, I think not resing here. I think both times the not res is correct, but it was obviously unfortunate. I also am wondering whether the corp, if they think long and hard enough, realize that I must be holding 2 pinholes, because I am fully aware that these are 2 voids. Why should I fire 1 pinhole if I'm not holding a second one? But I don't know if I would have found that thought in the game. And I don't know if that even changes the decisions here. So it's still like, I'm still thinking about the situation, and I've not gotten any further in my conclusions.
It's also most of the time these are thoughts. Maybe you have seen it before if you played the matchup before, then you might think of it. But if you haven't seen it before, you realize after the second one is played and not before that.
Exactly. Exactly.
Also, funny thing, what I thought here is I would run the remote here for sure.
Yes.
And I would even use Debbie to run the remote.
Yes, I would. I didn't. Then I undid my click.
You know why? Do you know why you should use Debbie here? Obviously because you want to break that Ebola, but there's also a different reason that I thought about.
No, I actually don't. What are you thinking about?
Because of Anansi. Because you can draw a card with Debbie. Then.
Oh, that is true. I like that one. I didn't think that far. I just thought there are credits on there. Let's do something with them.
Yeah. It's also there's no downside if you don't use the credits. You don't use the credits.
Exactly. And also once again, my opponent graciously giving me the undo here. I intended it, but I just clicked on the wrong button. And raising the Vampironessa here. So I'm losing 2 credits actually for my real credit pool, which I kind of dislike. I would love to use Debbie credits here. And they gain 2 credits, which is also somewhat important. So they are once again on 9 credits here. Land 2 damage. Draw 2 cards. And land 2 more damage from a Fuji.
Yikes.
So I'm now at this board state. What do you do?
No, draw. You have to draw. Can't die to punitive.
But, so, I was once again, like, in the tank for a few minutes.
I mean, okay, you might think, double punitive. Fuck. So I have to win this turn. Okay, I can see what
because
what you're
they're through more than half of their deck, and they're playing 3 punitives. And they've drawn a lot. They have not filtered anything with Spin Doctor, so it's really just 29 cards.
Yeah. You're correct.
So the chances are pretty high that they're holding 2 punitives and I just die if I don't move here.
Man, I can't really look away from the hand. It's such a bad thing. I shouldn't do that, but you're absolutely right. If I'm in the game, I'm just seeing the same boss. Yeah. I come to the same conclusion. I have to win this on this last click for sure. Yeah.
I was pretty sure that is now or never.
Yeah.
The question is, where are agendas? I was thinking that HQ now, especially after the 2 draws, holds maybe 1 and 7, which is bad odds.
Also very likely that there's death in Anansi on HQ.
Exactly. They can res a big baddie. So
you also die on R&D, so the only option is archives.
The only option is archives or draw. That was also what I reached. And then I did a line of thought that I should have done like 5 turns ago, which was that when they first discarded to overdrawing, and then they Hansei the second card, and then they scored a Regenesis and scored a Fuji with it. I'm holding a Fuji. They scored a Fuji. It is unlikely that they discard another Fuji in the beginning, but it is likely that the first discard typically is a 3-pointer in RH.
Yeah. It's not even only likely that it's a 3-pointer, it's also very likely that it's a bacterial, because you have the option of using the bacterial to put another 3-pointer in the bin. So yeah, for sure. So that's one thing that I thought as well.
After thinking through all of this, I came to the conclusion there is very likely a bacterial in archives. More likely than usual that the discard there is a bacterial, because of all of those situations. And so it is better than the 1 in 7-ish chance in HQ. It is better than dying on R&D, I guess. Also likely dying on HQ, because there's 2 eyes that could be in Anansi. So I decided to actually run archives here. I didn't
Interesting thing is, one thing that I want to note before we end this.
Yes.
If you came to the conclusion that the bacterial is in archives before, or at the beginning of your turn, that might have changed a lot in your play, because then you could have gone Hermes, Boomerang on archives, and then bounce the double advance card, which would have been much, much better for you, because it's so few way fewer risk. I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, way less risk involved.
Way less risk, yeah.
Although I'm then giving them bacterial trigger, which can mean your digital life double punitive, so I should also install the class act, but all of those are things that I can probably do. I first install the class act, then do the run, then just draw up, and I'm probably safe. I fully agree. I only came to the point where I had to think about these things when I reached this point here. So
also very understandable. Very understandable, because now you're in an existential crisis. How I have one click. How the fuck do I win this game, right?
Exactly that. And then I actually did come to the conclusion after some more talking that I should do an archives run. And after a short exchange, we realized that this actually was a winning line. This was so much pain that could have been avoided now looking at it again. But I'm still very happy with with the lines that I took in the end of the game. Like I think those were good lines that I thought through. But man, looking through what this game could have been, this was quite something.
I think one thing that is a big takeaway here is, don't shy away, even if you have a tag card like here in Class Act, don't shy away to use this card, especially if the main purpose of the card is drawing cards, of using it. And also
the filtering is also very important.
Yeah, one lesson that I learned playing against these kinds of decks that make running very hard: use your run events when you can.
Yeah,
right. You don't get many chances to use them, especially before you have your breakers down.
Yeah,
you have to have a smooth transition from I play them on the free servers that I can get to I have my breakers installed, and now I can use them because I can break ice if I face check it.
And I have some money because I played a Barado or two.
Yeah,
I fully agree. I think I was at certain points afraid, and at certain points then in a dead end where I couldn't use them again. So yeah, I think whenever you find an opening to just throw your run event on something is very important, and definitely some lessons that were learned in this game. But
also, one thing that I want to note is not only do you have your class act, the first class act in hand, but it's not unlikely that you find your second class act with your first class act. So that makes the first class act install so impactful.
Yeah,
that you have the ability, and which is also very important, the trick of installing the class act to circumvent the dying to the punitive. Is much more potent if you have a board. Because you want to be able to contest stuff, right?
I need to be able to interact with the corp to be able to use the class act. So I just need to have cards. I just need to get to a board state, and there's definitely what lacked in this game. And I mean, in the end, I went through a lot of ice with just a barrier breaker, and everything worked out. But this was definitely a lot of luck involved, together with some good choices in the end, but I think in the beginning I could have played more solidly.
I hope there was also some learning achieved, which is the nice thing, that even if you do the mistakes, which definitely there were mistakes made here, you can get so much out of it. So don't shy away from looking at your games where you did badly or where you think you played not optimally. It's a lot that you can learn from these games, and I think that's also a very fun part of playing Netrunner, learning from what you did before and what you missed.
And it's definitely also a fun part of just going through replays with friends, especially with people like yourself who are really, really good at playing Crim. Like I'm playing this game at a decent level, but I think your Crim is just at a different level. So having somebody who has like really good gut knowledge about what to do, if you don't even like need to look too much at a bot set and go like you should do this, and can start analyzing from that base level, is super important. So if you have any games where you feel like could I have played something differently, just ask on any server, and very high level players are still very, very happy to go over replays, give some tips here and there.
At least give it a chance, right?
Exactly.
It's so much to learn from talking to players and looking at games. And one thing I want to note, just to give a little bit of counterweight to your argument that I'm a great Crim player. At Worlds, actually, and it's also a nice wrap up to our Restoring Humanity feature in the last 2 games. I played against Bridgman, and I tunnel visioned. I was playing Sable, and my only economy was Bravado, and it was very early in the game. And my mark was on HQ, so I was like, I mean, the face check's probably bad. I have a lot of cards in hand. I really need the money from the Bravado. So Bravado HQ, I face check into Artini. It's fine. I lose some cards in hand, and I get this click from running HQ if I'm successful. Also, I had I think 1 or 2 bankrolls installed. So I was like, I really have to take this access. I accessed. I found the bacterial, and then I found out the hard way that this was absolutely not the play, because next turn I just died to punitive, and that was the game. So even if you have good gut instincts, there's still a lot of traps that you can't fall into, especially if you're not familiar with a matchup like this.
Yeah, and especially if the deck is kind of countering what your deck initially is doing. Obviously,
exactly.
I was able to see before that our opponents were playing this deck, so I could cut the bankrolls and optimize my deck a bit better for this matchup than you could at Worlds. But still, adjusting your lines to what your opponent is doing is super important.
And being able to look at the deck is also such a big deal, because I never played against this deck before, so I was like going in blind. I was probably they try to kill me with some kind of shenanigan, but I didn't really know what the actual combo or the actual idea was, and it was quite the lesson. I really understood what made the game tick, and why Bridgman, like a very well-known player, would choose a deck like Restoring Humanity, which was not meta in my mind at that point. So all right, I think that's very nice wrap up.
Definitely. And once again, I want to thank everybody who has stuck with us for up to this point. Thank you for watching. If you have any comments, leave them below in the comment section. Like and subscribe and all of those things that YouTubers should say. And once again, if you have any comments, just hit us up on any of the social places that we hang on, and we'll be happy to answer and discuss things.
And also, as always, hack the planet!